Hello and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel in the first place. Today we have a Denki X listener. I want to apologize for any background noise. I'm filming in a different location and there are probably going to be clocks and birds in the background, so I'm sorry for that. Anyways, let's go ahead and get into it. Please listener, I promise it'll be fun. My answer is the same as the last 20 times you asked me. Turning around, you fix the begging blonde, following you with a deadpan expression. No, I have to study. Listener, flopping onto the floor, Kaminari whined your name, reaching out and grabbing your ankles. Please? No. You continued walking, dragging the electric boy across the floor for a few paces before he had finally let go, face pressed flat against the dirty surface. With a backward glance, you sighed and left him behind, returning your attention to the book in your hands. It was a few minutes before anyone noticed Kaminari still lying face down where you left him. Kirishima's and Sero's pitying laughter accompanying their footsteps. Of course, they both already knew the reason for their friend's melancholy. It's useless, man. This is listener we're talking about. Kirishima chuckled, rolling the limp Kaminari on his back. They're so independent and emotionless, they're practically another version of Todoroki. Sero added, What made you choose them of all people? Coming back to life, Kaminari shot up in a sitting position, hands fisted and eyes glimmering as he looked at Sero. They're the cool beauty I've been waiting for. Leaping to his feet, his nostrils flared, determination renewed. Listener's so amazing and perfect, they're the person of my dreams. Sure, but Kirishima tried to interject. They may have rejected me the past 20 times I've asked them out, but that doesn't mean they don't like me back. Actually, Sero's sweat dropped, trying to point out the obvious error in that assumption. I'm sure I'm wearing them down. They'll accept me next time. And with that, the hopelessly in love blonde ran after you, leaving Kirishima and Sero to stare after him helplessly. He's hopeless. Kirishima chuckled, sharing an amused look with Sero. Boys deep in love, that's for sure. Sero sighed. I just hope he doesn't get his heart broken. It carried on like this for weeks, Kaminari continuing to pursue you despite your repeated rejections. Listener, let's go out to get something to eat. No thank you. Listener, do you want to hang out after school? Sorry, I already have plans. Listener, let's study together. No thank you, I study better alone. Every time you refused him, and every time his response was the same. Okay, next time then, he'd say, smiling expression filled with hope and adoration. It would be a lie to say each rejection didn't hurt him a little bit, but he was determined. Slowly but surely, he'd make his way into your heart. Listener, are you a magician? Because whenever I see you, everyone else disappears. If I were a cat, I'd spend all 9 lives with you. Do you have a map? Because I'm getting lost in your eyes. It seemed pickup lines were not the way to do that. Today was like any other day. Bakugo repeatedly insulting Midoriya, Aizawa always tired. Kaminari dropped 3 pickup lines in an hour. Ida scolded everyone with his wild hand gestures. It was a completely normal day. Oh, except for the fact that Class 1A was getting attacked by villains. Again! That wasn't super normal for them. Hero training was supposed to have taken place at USJ, but the sudden appearance of hordes of villains called for a serious change of plans. The situation only grew worse when everyone was separated. Inexperienced students fighting experienced villains alone. This really sucks. Kaminari happened to be unlucky enough to be in a completely isolated zone from the rest of the class. Several villains cornering him when he tried to find you, lassoed by a villain whose quirk was particularly effective against his own. Rubber ropes bound Kaminari's body, leaving him helpless and vulnerable as the villains closed in from all sides. Strangely enough, in these moments that could very well be his last, he only thought of you. I'm sorry I never told you how I felt. If I had another chance. Screwing his eyes shut, a few tears escaped them as a villain raised a blade made of a bone above his head, ready to decapitate the blonde teen without a second thought. I'm so sorry, listener. I love you. The wind whistled around the blade as it fell, and Kaminari tensed for the end. That never came. Instead, the world turned dark beyond his eyelids, the sound of surprised, terrified screams forcing him to open his eyes to pitch blackness. He panicked for a moment, thinking he was actually dead, before the shadows around him shifted and rippled. The screams of villains dying away as the darkness swallowed them. Shaking with weak, relieved laughter, Kaminari recognized your shadow manipulating quirk, barely aware of the rubber bindings loosening around his restrained body. Hiding his face in the crook of his arm, he took a few deep, shaky breaths before rolling to his feet. Checking to make sure there weren't any leftover tears on his face before turning to face you. You stood a few feet away, your back to him as the shadows dispersed around you. Thanks, listener. I was in a lot of trouble back there. Smiling, he rubbed the back of his head, wincing as his bruises throbbed. Are you hurt? He asked, eyebrows knitting in concern. Instead of responding, you turned around and stalked towards him, hair shadowing your eyes. Listener? He questioned nervously, taking a few steps back. It scared him a little bit, seeing you like this. But he was more concerned about you than himself. What are you? He gasped as you lunged forward, wrapping both arms around him in an unexpected embrace. Freezing, Kaminari's arms hovered over your waist awkwardly. The poor boy could barely believe what was happening, completely caught off guard by whatever this was. Looking anywhere except you, Kaminari tried to decide what to do. On one hand, his crush was hugging him. On the other hand, something had to be horribly wrong because said crush never hugged anyone. He was so confused. He had no idea whether he should push you away or hug you back. Just then, a small sniffling noise snapped him out of his thoughts, your body shaking slightly against him. Finally looking down at you, Kaminari stared, eyes wide as you cried silently into his chest. Any reservations he had disappearing, he held you close as you continued to cry, shoulders trembling with each stifled sob. What, have you finally fallen for me? Laughing nervously, he tried to lighten the serious mood, because a dramatic moment like this would be the perfect time to confess. He teased, only receiving another sniffle from you. No need to say anything, listener. Raising a hand, he patted your head. Cry all you need, your Denki's here too. Kaminari's eyes couldn't get any wider at this point, a massive blush spreading across his face as your lips brushed against his. The kiss was over just as quickly as it came. Pulling back, your glistening eyes avoided his, a small blush darkening your cheeks. Kaminari only stared in shock as the emotions you'd kept hidden for so long emerged, completely replaced by your usually aloof expression. Listener, I'm sorry, Kaminari, You wrung your hands nervously, still refusing to make eye contact. I just couldn't help it anymore. Your voice was near a whisper, but Kaminari still heard it, holding his breath as you continued. I know there's no way you could feel the same thing for me since I'm so motionless and quiet, and all the times you asked me out were just meaningless flirting, but You trailed off, taking in a deep breath before finally meeting his sun gaze. I love you, Kaminari. It was his turn to surprise you, making you gasp as he took your face in his hands and kissed you, moving his lips against yours as long as his lungs would let him. Pulling away just enough to breathe, Kaminari smiled, arms moving to your waist as he panted. I love you too, listener. What? I love you too, listener, he repeated, laughing. But Kaminari kissed you again, cutting off whatever doubts you had in you. I love you, listener. Did you really think all the times I asked you out was only meaningless flirting? Your mouth opened and closed before you looked away sheepishly, blush spreading. I don't care if you're emotionless and quiet. You're the person of my dreams. Are you sure? You looked at him from the corner of your eye. Of course I am. I wouldn't have kept chasing you all these months if I wasn't. You pouted, burying your face in his chest once more. I wish you would actually have told me earlier. I know, I'm sorry. Chuckling, he held you as close as possible, tilting your chin up to kiss you, long and slow. Unwilling to let go, Kaminari sank into the ground with you in his arms, simply enjoying the feel of your warmth against him as he kissed you over and over again, lavishing you with all the love he could muster. I love you, Denki, you mumbled, making him shiver as his first name left your kiss-swollen lips. I love you too, listener, he breathed against your ear, burying his overjoyed smile into the side of your neck. Thanks for finally loving me back. Alright, so that's the end of this, and I hope you enjoyed. Also, you guys kissing during a villain attack, excuse me, music link, fanfic link, Discord link, and thumbnail art link will all be in the description. I hope you have a great rest of your day, night, whatever, and I hope to see you in the next one. Goodbye!